here for something or another. Hey, we're here at Fort Wayne for the Racing Reunion Show, and we got a name synonymous with Fort Wayne Racing for years. And we got Roger Chalosky here with us, and your father raced for years and different tracks, kind of like even race some ASA Sportsman, and then you kind of start racing in the early '80s, and semi-late class, street stock class, and modifieds, and super late models too, even running some outlaw shows at New Paris and Fort Wayne. So how'd you get involved in racing, than being a track brat, with your dad racing and stuff, and seeing, what he did over the years?
I got started following him and
helping out on the car and everything there. Was it just, now, did Art have a big pit crew, or were you like a major part of the pit crew too?
Oh, he had a few guys that helped him, yeah. There's 3 or 4 guys all the time, different people here and there. Always 3 or 4 guys, I don't know, different guys.
Mm-hmm. And when Art raced that, it was like him, and there was Mike Klein at the time, Jess Yates,
Joe Wallace.
Wallace. I mean, there was just a lot of guys that just kind of raced for years. Tommy Weibel was another one there. Larry Zent kind of a little bit there early on there. And, even Moose Myers, another guy in that time frame. And, Art raced late models. And, kind of the cost of racing was getting up pretty high. They went to that Pro Track tire, about 79.80, and they went to that Shred-It. And everybody was on it really was racing closer. A lot more cars were showing up, and it was kind of like a budget class to a point. He raced some ASA Sportsman. And then he got out of racing, but then you started up racing. So tell us about that deal there. You guys had that body shop, wasn't it, over there? Over there by the Putt Putt Golf Course. I remember
mechanical shop.
Okay, because I remember I would go to ITT and I would go by there, and I was like, "There's a race car sitting back there." So I would go by there, often, and just see what was, stuff was.
I'm still there. I own the business.
Oh, really? Okay.
ATI.
And my God, there's so many businesses out there now, probably from what it was before. Because I went by. Going by through there, and I remember ITT was back over here, and I went to one of them side roads, and there was never this many businesses. This was like a county road thing. And now it's like you're back in the middle of town again, all over again.
And that's the way it was where we grew up, out off the Long Road. It was in the country, and now it's the city.
The change of life, and then the city's empty. The way that is. But you had that street stock for what, a year or two?
I run that for a year, and then I got into late models and run that for a couple of years. I think the second or third year I was driving, my dad said if I ever beat him, he was going to retire. And I finally beat him, and he retired at the end of the year.
Because he had Chuck Roy, wasn't it, racing the modified to start with?
Yes.
A little bit there?
I drove it for a while, and I didn't like the dirt, so Chuck got it.
Okay, because I remember seeing him at Butler with it, and he kind of bounced around a little bit. And then you got in it, and then, Fort Wayne introduced the modified class, which was kind of the first track in Indiana. And I think Central Indiana, they were trying to race them there, but not as like Anderson, but not a home base. But then Fort Wayne says, we're going to try to race these guys weekly. And it was Roger Miracle. And then, your guys' car was in there.
Actually, I was running Outlaw Super late at the time. At the end of the year, it was getting so out of hand. My dad was going to sell it, and we was going to get out of racing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tom Ish decided he was going to start this modified series. And we looked into it and seen how, the cost of it. And we got into the modified series.
Because then Bice got in it.
Right.
I mean, there was just a ton of guys out of Fort Wayne. Then again, there was really nothing else to race, almost at that point. I remember you racing the super lates. You were over at New Paris a few times, and you'd be over there, and Dancer and Zent was always Zent. It was always the Larry and Denny show, those guys, and everybody else kind of raced for third, and Bontrager seemed to get the third place a lot of times. But a cool time because
I won one night at New Paris and the Outlaws, and Larry Zent was so mad at me he could have killed me. He said I was blocking him. I said, "Yep." Last 5 laps, I was blocking him. I started on the front row, and when he got to me, there was 5 laps to go, and I blocked him.
And those times when you were racing, they had the street stock class or the Coyote, 100 cars. Right. There'd be 150, 60 cars there. And, I mean, even with the super lates, never really knew who was going to roll in because sometimes you get a Kalamazoo guy or two that would roll in or a guy from up by Springport. And, even Ed Howe came down there one night for the Joe Wallace Memorial, and Denny's like, "I'm going to lap his ass," and and he says, "I Ed, because he drove for Ed Howe. Then they had some differences in that, and I'm going to lap him." So Denny was like on a bull. That was his bonsai, and he was going to lap Ed on like 24, and Ed pulled off the track the next lap. And Ed's like, my car was having trouble. I pulled off, and then he's like, because I lapped him, But a neat time because it was like those open body rules. Some guys were racing without the roof a little bit, and other ones the bigger plexiglass. The windows were coming out, the wedge bodies, and then Fort Wayne was running them too.
Yeah,
and kind of like more of the template.
Right, we run Bearfield Friday and New Paris Saturday.
And that was cool with Fort Wayne because we're talking about that fast series that they had there. And it was bringing those guys from Detroit in and a couple guys from Cleveland. And, you had your Fort Wayne bunch. And Buddy Schrock was in there and Butch Miller would show up. And, there'd be 30 late models on a Friday night, which, lucky to get 30 late models on a season right now.
It didn't last long, but yeah.
I think it was like a 2-year deal. But, that was a cool series there. And, some high horsepower and some of the motors were like hand grenades out there, maybe, trying to string them out a little bit there and stuff. And then the modifieds, you go into that. Now it's a claim class. And we were talking about how, if you did well, your motor was basically claimed that night. So if you finished on the lead lap and and I think Jimmy was saying how many times you were getting your motor claimed, you get,
I think in 5 years we run 5 or 6 years, we run Claimer series. We sold like 17 motors.
That crazy. And I remember we go to Angola on a Labor Day Sunday night with the sprint cars. And those guys, if they did well, their motors would get claimed. And they're like, we ain't coming back down here. It's like, every time we come down here, we get our motor claimed and we don't get home till 6 in the morning because you got to pull the motor and you can't start it up and all that good stuff there. But, and then you guys were running Plymouth a lot too. And, my God, Plymouth would get, they had Bobby Blunt over there and Scarberry and a couple other guys would run modifieds from that area. But you guys would pull 15 or 20 modifieds from Fort Wayne and Columbia City, and there'd be 30 modifieds out there. And it's like, man, what a field of cars,
It wasn't nothing out of normal for a villa to have 25, 30 cars.
Yeah, and even Fort Wayne would have some big car counts,
on Sunday and have 25, 30 cars.
Because it was like you guys and say Vice and Roger Miracle and
that was for a regular show.
What a great show. And I remember when Blaine Miller had those green cars, the 6-cylinder cars, and they gave him a weight break because of the smaller motor. And then he put guys like, Chrisman in them and Bobby Blunt, and they were winning a lot of features. Some guys were like, they should make those guys add 200 pounds because the 6-cylinder was a better motor. The V6 was a better motor for a Villa.
That wasn't really a better motor. It's just lighter.
Plus, the guys in the car probably didn't hurt matters either. Put some stars like that in the car is like, well, you put those guys in the second row, well, your work's going to be cut out for them there. But, some good sponsors over the years. So I remember when I was doing that frame, I saw that I also had Gibson was in there for a sponsor, and Grants, I think, was another body shop was in there.
Auto Parts. We had Bus Huts at one time. Low Landscaping. All kinds of things.
But it's always number 2. Why was Art? The number 2? Art basically had that for the whole time.
He was always number 2, and when I started racing, I was 02. And then when he quit, I went to number 2.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a number we run forever.
Did you have a favorite track that you're with the modified? I remember he won up at Owasso too, I think.
Yeah.
One time up there, or Springport.
Yeah, I've been one at Springport, Owasso, all over the place, over in Ohio, one at Toledo, a couple different tracks in Florida.
And here you ran fenders for a long time, and then you go to the fenderless. Did that change your driving style any? When obviously getting near traffic is like, well, we touch wheels, they could get kind of
not really. You could throw them cars around a lot more because they were a lot lighter.
Mm-hmm.
I've used them more.
Now, like say with the motor claim, did you almost like, the first time it happens, you're like, oh, crying out loud, now we got to get another motor. And then the second time it happens, like, man, we got to get another motor. After that, were you starting to get like stockpiling motors or like, in case we, because if not, you could miss a show or two. And then the points, you'd be in that points mix too, to stay up in that.
When we run, sometimes we'd start Friday run Bearfield, Saturday a Villa, and then Sunday we'd be clear up Michigan. We'd leave a Villa and go up to Michigan. We'd always have to have a spare motor or two with us.
Mm-hmm. Was there a favorite drivers that in that modifieds when you were racing that, you looked up to start with, and then it was like, man, I'd like, I don't mind racing, racing with Vice or other guys.
I got along with all of them. There's a few guys didn't get along with, but mainly I got along with everybody.
really, as we talk about the modifieds, it was an I-69 series. South Plymouth had a couple guys, but Fort Wayne, and you had your Central Indiana guys, and a lot of those guys would come up and run Plymouth. LJ Lyons and Beaver and those guys, and Henshaw and those guys would run up, and then you had the Michigan guys that would come down to Villa, like Mingus and a few other ones there, and like Avila, it's like, man, who's rolling in now? And that was just what a cool time. God, it was. So I was talking to Jimmy, 25 semi-lates. They have 22 late models, 32 mods, and then the sprint cars were there for 20. Like, my God, there's 120 cars for $7, and he couldn't beat that.
Yeah, we didn't get out there until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it was some late. I was on nights, so it didn't bother me to be on a night. And then Plymouth, I was, if they got rained out on Friday night at South Bend or Bearfield, and New Paris got rained out on Saturday, holy smokes, you go to Plymouth on a Sunday, there'd be 140 cars there. And it'd be easy 2 in the morning. And I was writing it for the race paper then. So it was like, I could stay up till 4 or 5 in the morning, but it's like, some people are like, man, they haven't had the features out yet. It's midnight, and they're like, well, for some fans, it probably didn't go over so hot for them,
The Villa was I hated it when they closed that place. That was my favorite place.
When they put that bypass up, you kind of wonder, boy, is this going to be the beginning of the end? And they always would seem to have a car get stopped by the police about 9, 10 o'clock for people to think, oh, I'm not going to speed. Now there's cops out there,
Bypass didn't really hurt it. I think it was more the owner wanting to get out of there.
Yeah, and that didn't help too. Bice, I say he really had that thing going. Then he lost his son in that accident, and then then he lost his life, and then Tommy had it, but then
Tom took it over. He ran it forever, and
then Barb just was
Barb was just
time to get out of it, and
she sold it. Had a high bidder, and she sold it, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, because I say neat little facility, the drag strip. I never went to the drag races there. I just time commitments and hours, 2 hours away. It's like I was more of a stock car thing, but it's neat to see the stock cars go down their drag strip and back whenever they would do stuff like that. But was there, like, say, any favorite tracks of all the ones you ran, whether it was a half mile at Fort Wayne or?
Oh, I liked the Villa. Angola. I liked Angola. Springport was fun. Owasso was fun.
Owasso was big, and that was another fast track. It seemed like Springport and Angola were very similar, except Springport's got the wall, and maybe a little bit longer straightaway. But Angola, that was always cool there because the cars would get the brakes. Somebody was just like, it's like, I'll run low, I'll pass them low. And next thing you know, they can't even get low because of the brakes, and they're all up, running up high on the track. And that's a track you can really get. They sound fast there, which I like the modifieds there.
I like Bearfield too. That's a lot of fun. I won a lot of races there. Just seemed like the last 10 years, Bearfield went downhill and downhill.
It just got, some tracks are peaks and valleys, and Plymouth was doing so well with Tommy, and then he got out of it and then almost closed for a couple of years, and then Bobby Blunt and then Tom Smith had it, and they did what they could with it and had some good times. And New Paris was, you've been to New Paris a lot of times with the modified, even with the late model. And, like I say, that night they were having 100 street stocks. I mean, it'd be like I would go to a Villa for a show, leave there at 11:15, 11:30. And then on the way home, I'd New Paris. That was intermission time at 12:20.
Yeah, and we used to leave New Paris, and they'd still have an A, B, C, D, and E feature running.
Isn't that crazy?
For street stock.
And we were talking to some of them street side guys, and they're like, "Man, we had to wait till 3 in the morning to race, and we'd be getting in, and it'd be sun would be coming up, and all that." But yet the place was packed. It was just amazing how that was. But having 157 cars, 170 cars, you pull up. And you look at the pits, and it was like, holy smokes. And then you go up to Peta on that back gate, and you see all the cars up the hill. And it's like, hey, there's our free pit pass. So we'll go up there and get pictures of those cars and that. So I go up there. And then once it got dark, it's like, holy damn, how do they even see back there? It'd be pitch black, But it was cool watching you guys race over the time. I mean, the modifieds, I was glad to see Fort Wayne get them. At first, it was kind of like, they're like, they're Iowa and they're different looking, but they kind of look like the old stuff from the 60s. And then once you get 20 on the track and 24 on the track, it's like, man. And the rules were pretty good where no one really won by half a lap. It was always cars were competitive. And they ran those inversions at Fort Wayne with, 14 car inversion on a 30 lap race.
16.
Jeez, I mean, that was.
It was every night, 16 cars. You had fast time, you started 16.
Yeah, and
And if you won the week before, then you started 17th.
yeah, because then we said that little thing where they dab you up there like that. But thanks for coming out.
Yep, not a problem.
And you know, it was always good watching your race and your dad. And I was telling your daughter Melissa, I said, I'm going to see if I can get some. I got enough pictures to get like an art frame put together over the years. That'd be kind of cool. She goes, "Oh my God, that'd be awesome." I sent her that picture of that one. She goes, "Oh my God, that's pretty cool." You know, and so I've been working on it off and on for about 4 or 5 months, and then I said, "Well, I'll bring one to Fort Wayne." I said, "I got to get it together." So I was like, that was my mission this week to finish. I finished that up like on Thursday morning, I think, at work. So, but
well, I appreciate it. I'm gonna take that home and hang it at the office at the shop.
yeah, it makes some good memories there. You know, so because then your Junior was saying make a couple more. So I got everything on file because before I was doing some pictures and I would just take them out of books, put back in books, and then someone says, "Hey, make me another one," and I'm like, "Oh my God, what year was that other picture? Was it 86 or was it 85?" Next thing you know, I got every book downstairs instead of upstairs. Everything's in the bottom of the crate. I have everything on my lap, and I'm like, "No, it wasn't that one. No, wait a minute, this one." Now I got them on file now. I was like, man, that way I can trace them down in within an hour rather than about 2 weeks. So thanks again, Roger.
All right, not a problem. Thank you.